Okay, welcome again to our Tuesday night shiur. This week is Rosh Chodesh, Chodesh Tov to everybody. It's sponsored again, Lilul Nishmat Netanel Shalom ben Rivka, and also for Solika Bat Iza, and for Shalom Netanel ben Rivka. His neshama should have an aliyah. Rachel bat Chifsi, Mendel ben Chana. So, Parashat Korach. Everybody knows about Korach. Just to give a little bit summary who Korach was. We know that Korach was one of the big sages in the time of the Midbar and Yetziat Mitzrayim. Korach was from Shevet Levi, so automatically he wasn't part of the Shibud of Mitzrayim. Just an interesting fact. Some people know that you tell a person, Ashir Korach, he should be wealthy like Korach, right? Yeah. Korach put Bill Gates to shame. The wealth that Korach had put Bill Gates to shame.
How many times?
So the question is, how did Korach become so wealthy? Where did he get all this wealth? So some people said that Korach, he had the keys to the treasure houses of Paro. He was the treasure keyer. He held the treasure keys for Paro. And when Am Yisrael was leaving Mitzrayim, he went and he took everything.
Why?
Right? That's what some people say. Other people say like this, that Paro, the Rav Avram ben Arambam, the son of the Rambam, says like this, that how did Korach become so wealthy? What happened was that Paro, on the first day that he started to enslave the Jewish people, he said to them, I'm going to pay you an amount of money for each brick that you do. A big amount. Why? Because he wanted to get them to see how many bricks of cement they could make in one day. So obviously everybody knew that they were making money. He fooled them into making, so everybody worked extra hard that day. And each person came with 10 bricks, 15 bricks. So he told them like this, now I know how much you can produce. From now on, every day, this is your quota. And if you miss the quota, we're going to fill the holes with your children. Now, Korach, what did he do? He had a store. What kind of store did he have? He had a store that sold bricks. So when people were shorted throughout the time of Mitzrayim, when they were short bricks based on their quota, where would they go and buy it from? From Korach. And throughout the years of Mitzrayim, Korach became very wealthy through the store of bricks, because he was from Shevet Levi, and Shevet Levi wasn't part of the slavery, and he didn't have to make any bricks. He still made bricks, and he sold them. And we know over here, Korach comes to Moshe Rabbeinu, and he brings 250 people with him, which we'll see what these 250 people had to gain from this argument, nobody knows. He comes to Moshe and he says to Moshe like this, Vaikach Korach ben Itzar ben Kahat ben Levi, right? And we saw we know the famous Rashi, why is Yaakov's name not mentioned here? Yaakov asked that his name shouldn't be mentioned in the machloket of Korach, because he didn't want to be part of this machloket. Now the Midrash Tanchuma says, Vaikach Korach, that Korach lakach mekach ra leatzmo. He took something that was bad. He made a bad trade-off. Why did Korach start this whole thing? Remember what we said, the Torah is not dealing with kindergarten children. Korach was secondary to Moshe. It was basically Moshe, and then Beruach HaKodesh, Korach.
Not even Aaron.
Not even Aaron. And you'll see later on. So Korach was a big chacham. What does he have to do? He was the people from Nosei Aaron. Korach was the person that was carrying the Aaron. He wasn't a simple guy. What did he see? We all know the famous Midrash he saw in the Ruach HaKodesh, that who's going to come out of him? Shmuel. And we know that Shmuel is Shakul, Keneged Moshe ve'Aaron. Shmuel, we spoke about that once, what it means that Shmuel is like Moshe ve'Aaron. So he saw this coming out of him. he comes to Moshe and he says to Moshe, and you should know that the status of Moshe Rabbeinu at the time of the Midbar was that Moshe Rabbeinu there was a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and there was the Navi who was Moshe Rabbeinu. Nobody would say anything to Moshe Rabbeinu, because they all saw everything that Moshe Rabbeinu did for them. Moshe Rabbeinu gave their life for them. Nobody would open their mouth against Moshe Rabbeinu. Until they saw the Chet HaEgel, until they saw what happened with the Meraglim. So slowly but surely, the Emunah in Moshe Rabbeinu was winding down. So it says over here, Korach comes to Moshe Rabbeinu and says, Lama titnasu? Why should you take all the glory? Why should you be the king of the people? Aaron, your brother, be the Kohen Gadol? What's with everybody? It's Kulam Kedoshim. We're all holy. We all heard HaKadosh Baruch Hu say, Anochi Hashem Lokecha she'otziti lecha mitzrayim. What's going on over here? And who are these 250 people of Korach? Because why did they get involved in this machloket? Like the wife of On ben Pelet says, the Gemara says that the wife of On ben Pelet, the Midrash says she comes to On ben Pelet, who was one of the 250 people, she goes, what do you have to gain from this machloket? If Korach wins, then you're On ben Pelet, and you're going to be the student of Korach. If Moshe Rabbeinu wins, you're still On ben Pelet, and you're the student of Moshe Rabbeinu. So, what do you have to gain from this? Nonetheless, they were all persuaded by Korach. What was Korach persuading them? So, we know that the inner parts of Torah teach us that when it says Vayikach Korach, really who was Korach? Korach had the Ra from Evel, from Cain. And Moshe Rabbeinu had the good from Hevel. That's why it says, Vayakumu. They went up. What does it say by Cain? Vayakam alachiv. Cain got up on his brother. Over here, you have Cain, who is Korach, and Hevel, who is Moshe Rabbeinu. So we're going back to the creation of the world. You guys are with me? We're going back to the creation of the world. Now, who are the 250 people? Ari, who are the 250 people? Listen to what Rabbeinu Bechai says.
Cain,
Huh?
Cain,
Why? What's Korach? What's Korach b'gematria?
Weren't the 250 people the leaders? All the leaders of Bnei Israel?
You're right.
Yeah.
So they were the leaders. Yeah. So comes like this. Comes Rabbeinu Bechai and says like this: if you read this parasha and you read it in a simple form, you have a big problem. We have a big question here. What's the big question? What happens after everything is said and done? After Korach comes and they die, what happens? Moshe Rabbeinu says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I need you to make an episode over here that they're going to die in such a fashion that nobody has ever died. And it says that the ground opened its mouth, and whoever was connected to this machloket rolled into the ground. If you borrowed even a vessel, you borrowed a cup from Korach or the 250 people, even the cup that you borrowed from him was taken into this hole of the land.
They didn't die.
Huh?
They didn't die.
They went to, what do you mean? They died. They went to
They fell
Gehenom.
in alive.
Yeah, but it says they're still alive.
Alive, but in Gehenom. Now, comes Rabbeinu Bechai and he starts his explanation asking like this. Until now, every time that Am Yisrael slipped up, what happened? Who's praying for them? Moshe Rabbeinu. All of a sudden over here, not only does Moshe Rabbeinu not pray for them to try to save them, Moshe Rabbeinu takes a step further and he causes their demise. He prays to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Al tefen el minchatam, make sure that you don't take the korban from them, make sure that the way that they get punished is a way that they know that this is min hashamayim. Comes Rabbeinu Bechai and asks, what's so different about this situation with Moshe Rabbeinu, What's so different? Why isn't over here Moshe Rabbeinu trying to save them? I mean, we've seen that Moshe Rabbeinu went to Datan ve'Aviran, and he tried to speak on them, and he went to Korach, and he says to Korach, Korach, Rav Lachem Shevet Levi, this is a lot for you to ask. What was going on here? What was he telling him, Rav Lachem Shevet Levi? What was Korach trying to do? You guys are following me? Comes Rabbeinu Bechai and says, I'm going to take you to this and explain something to you. You know who Korach was? Really, Korach was the Ra of Cain.
Why?
Now, Moshe Rabbeinu was Hevel. But these 250 people, where did they start from? They were already in Dora Palaga. That's why it says Vaitpalgu. Comes Rabbeinu Bechai and says Vaitpalgu Anashim, they separated themselves. They went to Dora Palaga. What happened in Dora Palaga? HaKadosh Baruch Hu caused them confusion, right? After Dora Palaga, where they didn't reach the rectification of their neshama there, they came back where? In Zdom. These 250 people came back in Zdom. That's why he says, look at the hint. He says when Moshe Rabbeinu comes, and that's why it says, Vaishma Moshe, Vaipol al Panav. Moshe Rabbeinu heard, and he fell. Why did he fall? Why did Moshe Rabbeinu fall? It's like a state of giving up. It's like basically, I can't do anything in this case. So he comes over here and he says, when Moshe Rabbeinu went to Datan ve'Aviran, he says, they say to him, Moshe Rabbeinu, is it not enough? ויאמרו לא נעלה המעט כי ליטנו מארץ זבת חלב ודבש לעמיתנו במדבר כי תסתרר עלינו אף תסתרר. You're going to take us, you took us from Mitzrayim, you said you were going to bring us to Eretz Yisrael, and you didn't bring us to Eretz Yisrael. Not only that, and he says to them, Va'anei anashim ta'ku, you're going to blind the eyes of these people. What happened in Zdom? When the whole city came to the house of Lot, what did the angels do? They blinded them. Says Rabbeinu Bechai, you see another hint over here. These people are already in Zdom. That's why it says, Vayakumu lifnei Moshe. What does it mean, lifnei Moshe? It should have said, Vayakumu al Moshe. Why lifnei Moshe? Because this episode already happened before. So they were already in Zdom. And now they came back a third time to rectify this situation. Comes Moshe and says, this is the third time, you guys don't get it right over here, you're not going to get it right. Says, Vaipol Moshe al Panav. Comes the Orach Chaim HaKadosh and says to you like this. What do you have over here? Because you have that when Cain killed Hevel, what happened? The land opens its mouth and it swallowed the blood of Hevel. Right? And over there it says that the land became cursed. And it wasn't able to open its mouth from that day onwards. Comes the Orach Chaim HaKadosh and says, look at this. Everybody here is getting a tikkun. Everybody here is trying to get a rectification. How does the land get the rectification over here? So he says, that over here, that when the land opens its mouth and it swallowed Korach v'adato, the land over here did shuvah for the fact that it took the blood of Hevel when it wasn't supposed to. And from that point onwards, it never opened its mouth. The land was cursed. And over here, it did shuvah the land. It opened its mouth to swallow Korach. And that's why Moshe says you have to create a new creation. What do you mean creating a new creation? The land already did it. It already did it by Hevel. It opened its mouth and it sucked the blood of Hevel. What does it mean Moshe Rabbeinu said you have to create something new? Because from that point on until now, it never happened. That's just to give you a little bit of an insight what's going on here. Because none of this really makes sense. The Korach, who was such a Chacham Gadol, he knew that he wasn't shayach to the Kahuna. Not only that, how does Moshe Rabbeinu test it? With the Ketoret. What's the Ketoret? The Ketoret is the incense. And if anybody touches the incense that is not connected to it, what happens to him? He dies. These people were, in other words, committing suicide. Comes Moshe Rabbeinu and they say to him, Moshe Rabbeinu, Lama titnasu? Comes Moshe Rabbeinu and says, you think it's for me? If it was up to me, everybody would be Kohanim Gdolim. You see that by Yoshua, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes from the Nevuah of Moshe Rabbeinu, and he puts it onto the 70 Skenim, and who's left in the Machaneh? They all got their prophecy. There were 70 people, and Eldad u'Medad mitnabim b'Machaneh. Eldad u'Medad were getting spirituality. They were becoming Nevi'im on their own accord, inside the tent. So comes Yeshua to Moshe Rabbeinu, and says, Moshe Rabbeinu kalem, because it's a disrespect to you, because what did they said? What was the Nevuah that Eldad u'Medad said? Moshe met, and Yeshua machnis la'aretz. Moshe is going to pass away, and Yeshua is going to bring him to the land. Comes Moshe and says, Ata mekaneli? Yeshua, you're becoming a kanai for me? Don't worry, alvai shekol ha'am yiyu neviim. I hope that everybody will be neviim. Moshe Rabbeinu was teaching us a fundamental lesson. He says, listen, it's not up to me who's a Navi. It's not up to me that I'm Moshe Rabbeinu. Comes Yirmiyahu and says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu by Yirmiyahu a Navi, and we know that Yirmiyahu a Navi was compared to Moshe Rabbeinu in many facets. Comes HaKadosh Baruch Hu when he speaks to Yirmiyahu a Navi, and he tells him like this, Beterem etzorcha, before you were even created, Babeten yedaticha, I knew you from your mother's womb, Ubeterem tetzeh merechem igdashticha, and before you came out from the womb, I already sanctified you. I already gave you the position of who you were going to be. Comes the Radak, and he says, I want you to know that what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling Yirmiyahu is, Yesh inyan she'adam miyuad letafkid od mereshit yetzirato. There's such an idea that before HaKadosh Baruch Hu even creates the person, he already gives him his title. He already gives him his profession. And that's why you see over here something very interesting. That throughout this whole machloket, Aaron doesn't say anything. It says, Vaypol Moshe. What happened to Aaron? At the end of the day, who's Korach arguing about? He's arguing about Aaron. He's arguing about Aaron's position. So, how come Aaron doesn't say anything? So the Midrash comes and says to us like this. He says, really, Aaron says to Korach, he says, listen, Korach, I agree with you. You're greater than me. You deserve it. You're right, 100%. But what am I going to do? Hashem chose me. Hashem told me this is my duty. But Korach, you're right. You're a bigger chacham. You're a bigger tzaddik than me. Second to Moshe Rabbeinu is you. But Hashem told me I'm the Kohen Gadol. Comes Moshe Rabbeinu and teaches us a fundamental lesson. He says look in the words that he says to Korach. He says to Korach, Rav lachem. It's enough for you. You have to understand. We don't choose who we're supposed to be in this world. Hashem chooses who they're supposed to be in this world. Now Moshe Rabbeinu and Korach didn't understand that. Korach says, why? It seems like you're doing everything from your own accord. Says Moshe Rabbeinu, it's not me. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He told me that I'm the Navi. I tried to tell him I don't want to go save Am Yisrael. He told Aaron that Aaron is the Kohen Gadol. And Aaron told Moshe Rabbeinu, I don't think I'm befitting. Hashem says, no, it's Aaron. And even over here, Vaypol Moshe, Aaron didn't fall. Because Aaron says, you're right, but what can I do? This is the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Later on, when Moshe Rabbeinu, we said the famous Arizal, I told you the famous Rabbi Misatmer, right? That the famous Rabbi Misatmer says that really Korach was trying to bring the Geulah. And Rav Tzadok says that when Moshe Rabbeinu fell, it wasn't a falling because of the prize, it was a falling of almost jealousy. He was jealous of Korach. Why was he jealous of Korach? Because he saw to what extent Korach was willing to give of himself to bring the Geulah at that moment. Because Korach thought that the Geulah was supposed to be now. He says, listen, we're in the Midbar, we have the Torah, we have the man, we have everything. He's coming to Moshe Rabbeinu, says, Moshe Rabbeinu, listen, there's no other time better for Mashiach than now. This is the time for Mashiach. It all makes sense. Kulanu kedoshim, kulanu shamanu takadosh baruch Hu. We all heard HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Comes Moshe Rabbeinu and says to him, Rav lachem shevet Nevi, says, Korach, don't get inside this calculation. Later on, in Parashat Vayetchanan, when Moshe Rabbeinu wants to go into Eretz Yisrael, and he prays 515 tefillot keminyan etchanan, what does the Kadosh Baruch Hu tell Moshe Rabbeinu? And we all know the famous midrash that if Moshe Rabbeinu could have gone into Eretz Yisrael, and if Moshe Rabbeinu would have gone into Eretz Yisrael, what would have happened? He would have built the Beit HaMikdash, and then the commentator says, how can Moshe Rabbeinu be so cruel? He would have gone into Eretz Yisrael, he would have been the Mashiach, but if Am Yisrael would have sinned, what would Hashem do? He wouldn't destroy the Beit HaMikdash. He would destroy the Jewish people. Yeah. No, but Moshe Rabbeinu says, I know who I am. I know that I'm Kulo Tov. If I go into Eretz Yisrael, I'll affect the people and they won't sin. We'll be at the Dargah of Mashiach. This won't happen. 515 tefillot. One more tefillah. Moshe could have done it. He could have caused this. Comes the Kadosh Baruch Hu and says to Moshe, 2 words. Rav lach, al tosef daver. Moshe Rabbeinu, it's not time yet. Korach also. But the difference is, Moshe Rabbeinu took a step back. Because Moshe Rabbeinu understood that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a plan. He understood that every person is unique. And every person has a position. Korach didn't want to understand that. Korach was looking to be something that he wasn't. You see, why is Aaron zochet to be Kohen Gadol? Because Aaron had the midah of shalom. Ohev shalom, verodef shalom. A person that doesn't have a machloket. We see what is machloket. Comes the Maharal and says, you see something over here that you don't see by anything else. The power of somebody going and having strife with somebody else. He says in every other punishment, if you're under the age of 20, you don't get punished. Comes the Maharal and says like this. He says, why were the tough? Why were they punished? So he says, I want you to know. Gehenam was created on what day? Monday. What happened on Monday? Separation of? The 2 waters were separated. Machloket, Chiluk, and Gehenam were created the same day. And everybody knows division. Division is when we argue with each other. And everybody knows that life can become hellish when you're in an argument with somebody. Be it your wife, be it your friend, be it the hell comes out of a person. The anger, the strife, the I'm right, you're wrong. Your life in a few minutes, because of a few words, can become hell. Ego. Whatever it is that's causing it. And Korach over here had all the calculations in the world. He had everything to be right about. He had Ruach HaKodesh. You're talking about a person who had Ruach HaKodesh. Secondary to Moshe Rabbeinu. Wealth. He lacked nothing. Comes the Maharal and says, the fire of machloket is so great that when a person goes into machloket, you're punishing yourself. And he says, since it's compared to a fire, the fire doesn't differentiate between who it affects. When a fire, God forbid, spreads into a home, it doesn't now start to make calculation, you're 20, you're less, you're this, you're that. It devours everything. He says that's the machloket. That's why you see over here that everything had to happen in a miraculous way. The land had to open its mouth. You see this lesson, the lesson that we're learning from Korach is, don't look to be somebody else. Aaron was zochet to give brachot to Am Yisrael and the people, the generations, the offsprings of Aaron that were zochet to being, because he dafka had this midah of shalom. He had this attribute of shalom. He realized who he was. He realized who his position was. That's why we said, the Rebbe Misatmer says, you know what the greatness of Aaron was? That he was able to sit on the sidelines to see 12 heads of the tribes, each one bring a korban, and the Torah outlined each one's korban, and he didn't get involved. He didn't jump on that bandwagon. Because he realized that I'm from Shevet Levi and it's not me. He had Chalishut Adat, and Hashem says, I know, Aaron, what you're thinking. And I praise you for not jumping on the bandwagon and doing a job that wasn't yours. Because when a person comes to this world, he has a job. That's why it says, Kina v'ata'ava v'akavod motziim et ha'adam ma'olam. A person who has desires, and a person who has jealousy, and a person who runs after kavod, it takes you out of the world. What does it mean it takes you out of the world? It takes you out of your position. When you start to be jealous of somebody else, when you compare yourself to somebody else, that jealousy, that takes you out of who you are. You don't need to be anybody else. You need to be you. And there's a reason Hashem created you the way He created you, with your faults and your positives and your attributes and your height and everything you have. Because this is the only way that you could do your job. If you were created any differently, you wouldn't be able to do your job. And Hashem says, like Hashem says to Yirmiyahu, Beterem yetzorcha babetin yadadicha, comes the Radak and says, Hashem has already given you a position. Don't look for a different position. Rav Lachem, says Moshe. The Torah is a living Torah. The Torah is teaching us, we have a position. We have a duty. We have to accomplish that duty. Comes Moshe Rabbeinu when he's in the Shamayim, and he sees the great Rabbi Akiva. And he says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, look, Rabbi Akiva, look at him. He's such a brilliant man in Torah. 10,000 halachot. 10,000 different nuances on a little tip of the Yud. He's the one that should be given the Torah. Comes HaKadosh Baruch Hu and says to Moshe, what? Shtok. Kach ala b'machshava. Moshe Rabbeinu, don't get involved. This is how it became. You have your position. What's Bereshit? Bishvil Moshe. Because Moshe was destined to be the one that gave the Torah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a certain world, and He created a world with people, and He gave those people's positions. And everybody has to have their position. Korach extended that boundary. And therefore it brought down to his demise. And that's why over there, what the Tanaim come and says, the Gemara relates a story about a Tana. The Tana was walking in the desert in an RV. It said over there, came and said, you want to see the place where Korach is buried? And he says that he took him to that place, and there was smoke coming up, and he's put his ear down, and he says, Moshe emet v'torato emet v'anachnu badaim. Moshe is true and his Torah is true. What does that mean, Moshe emet v'torato emet? Moshe emet, that really whatever Moshe Rabbeinu was doing was really just HaKadosh Baruch Hu telling him what to do. And when the Torah comes and tells us that what our position is as a person, it's emet. And don't look to be something that you're not. And don't look to bring Mashiach when it's not time to bring Mashiach. And over here, they went through this Gilgul. By the way, if you see the idea of, because we're all here as part of reincarnation. We're all here trying to correct what it is that we've done in previous lifetimes. And if you look at the gematria of Gilgul, is how many? Lamed and Lamed is 60. Gimel and Gimel is 6. And how much is Vav? 72. What else do we have as a gematria of 72? Chesed. Chesed is also gematria of 72. The fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu allows us to come back and fix the things that we've fixed before. And I was thinking, why does everybody have problems of self-confidence today? You see, the whole world is trying to tackle this idea of self-confidence. Everybody lacks self-confidence today. Why is that? Because we're trying to be something that we're not. You don't have to be anything else but yourself. That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu expects of you. And the reason Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't pray for Korach and Adato anymore is because it was the third time. He couldn't save them anymore. They were trying to create a whole new world. They were trying to create a world where somebody oversteps his boundaries, where a person becomes a position that's not his. And if you think about it, the greatness of a nation and the greatness of an individual is that he knows his place. In an orchestra, there are many musicians. One is in the piano, one has his violin, everybody has a different instrument. And in order for you to watch this concert, and in order for it to be a beautiful concert, each person has to be able to play his instrument at the right time, and they have to play unilaterally. And no matter what your position is in this orchestra, if somebody presses a wrong note, no matter what his position, he could have one note in the whole orchestra. But if that one node is off, the whole show is off. So the greatness of an individual is knowing his place. And the greatness of a nation is when all individuals that know their place know how to come together. That's what this parsha is teaching us. Machloket is something that separates. Machloket is something that doesn't allow a nation to be a nation. Individuals are allowed to be individuals. But they're individual as a nation, which means that everybody knows their position and everybody respects this position. When you come against Moshe Rabbeinu, Korach was a kofir. Says Moshe Rabbeinu, we can't have this. Because if what I'm saying is wrong, it means that I invented everything. Torat Moshe becomes false. It means that I gave everybody a position that wasn't theirs. So it's all fake. Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to get involved over here. We see in the Midrashim even in the Midrashim, that the celestials came to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if you don't take care of this, we're not functioning either. Because really Korach took away the function of the whole world. Imagine the sun wants to be the moon. Sun says, Hashem, you know what, today I'm coming out at night. Comes the moon and says, you know what, Hashem, I'm coming out during the day. The world can't function. There's a Moshe Rabbeinu, there's Aaron a Kohen, and there's Korach who's Nosei Aaron. When those things work together, they're aligned, the world's able to function. When an individual understands that I'm perfect, the way that Hashem created me, and I have to look at my talents, how to bring out my Torah, how to bring out my good midot and find where I excel, and see where somebody else excels and help him excel, that's the beauty of a nation. Korach wanted to take that away from us. He took a mekachra. You might have seen Shmuel and Avi come from you, but you're still Korach. You're still the Nosei Aaron. Aaron is still Aaron, and Moshe is still Moshe. We have to realize that the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created us is the best way for us. All we have to do is to take our potential and our gifts and find a way to excel it. Not only that, then when a person's comfortable with who he is, he's always happy at another Jew succeeding. Because when that other Jew succeeds, that's the orchestra. That's the beauty of the orchestra. Because when everybody comes out of the orchestra, they're like, wow, what a beautiful orchestra. You don't want anybody else to make a mistake. Because then that doesn't look good on you. That's how we have to look at the world. And that's what we should learn from a machloket. A machloket is something that divides us. Aaron was zochet to be Kohen Gadol and to be able to bless Am Yisrael for generations and generations. Because not only was he Rodef Shalom, in order to be a person who runs after peace, you have to have peace with yourself. You have to be happy with who you are, happy with your position, happy with your lot. When you're happy with who you are, you can be happy where somebody else is. When a person's unhappy with himself, he can't be happy for anybody else. So we have to take this lesson, and we have to realize that, let's learn from Aaron. Aaron never spoke in this machloket, because he says, Korach, I agree with you, you're better. But this is the position Hashem gave me, and I'm going to do the best I can. And everybody has to look at it that way. This is who I am, and I'm going to do the best job I can with whoever I am. Stop here. רבי חניה בן הקשה אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל, לפיכך ריבה להם תורה ומצוות שנאמר, אדוני חפץ למען סיכוי יגדיל תורה וידיר.